Okay, Gail.
This thing's taller than you, Kat.
Hey!
Well, look at that. Jeez, it's like I have to get into my bifocal section just to look at the, you know, I gotta do one of these.
It's because I'm goblin size. Gail.
This is the G4 by Curtis, and it's part of their Gold Cup series.
Okay, it's a thermal twin coffee brewer.
Now this is not for your average home.
Now, we don't judge, Gail.
No.
And there may be people out there that are a little bit crazy.
Maybe you got a lot of friends, or you just...
Or a lot of family.
Mainline your coffee, I don't know.
But, anyway.
Each one of these carafes, and there's some real carafes, it's going to do 1.5 gallons of coffee in 7 minutes.
Okay, so serious business.
Oh, serious business.
So if I'm not buying this for my kitchen, then you'd have to be like a high capacity cafe or something, right?
It would be a cafe, high capacity cafe. Churches use them because they have an hour to get that coffee ready.
Yeah.
They get that 1 hour after church, after the service. But anyway, a really high volume.
Okay.
It's not even for smaller places. It's really high volume and fast.
Well, you could get there's a single version which we'll shoot later, but so maybe the single version could be like, hey, a little bit more slower pace, but
and this thermal carafe keeps the coffee hot for quite some time.
Okay, so it's got some specs, I assume, because it's fancy.
Does.
So why don't you run through it?
Stainless steel boiler.
Okay,
one for each side.
Okay.
Hot water dispenser right here for hot water for tea or whatever.
Got it.
It's got a built in the menu here in this programming screen. You can program each one of these for a profile of how you want it to taste.
Okay.
This is a 1/2 gallon, and a come back. 1.5 gallons.
Okay.
Okay. So you can set it for whatever you want. And the 7 minutes is for the large, the 1.5 gallons.
Okay.
What else has it got? Like I said, PID built into it, so you can change the temperature for each one of those brews that it will do. Mm-hmm. You can actually send your information, or your roaster can send the information into Curtis, and they will program the different profiles for the different coffees that you roast into this machine, so that you take, like we use Velton's coffee a lot.
Okay.
Velton could send this information in, hook it up. They hook up to the USB on the side of the machine here, and put in the different profiles for what works best for his different blends.
I see. Okay.
And they'll brew just whatever it's told.
And what kind of parameters are covered here? We have a couple of their recipes over here. So there's a couple things that they can control as far as just like the amount of pulse time and pre-infusion. So it's not just temperature that they're telling you.
Pulse time, as it was explained to me, because these are kind of new to me, is it puts a certain amount of water on the coffee, lets it sit, and lets it blossom.
Got it.
Bloom, whatever you want to call it. But in any case,
so it's sort of a pre-infusion.
It's like a pre-infusion, so
process.
that it doesn't. It takes advantage of the coffee better.
Okay, so we're into the basic programming.
Brew settings.
Here, I'm gonna get
controls, recipes. This is where the recipes are for the different. So if I hit any one of those, I can alter it. I don't want to get in there and mess with it. But all of those are programmed into this. That's the model. That's the model.
That we're using here.
Well, that's another thing that was explained to me, is that on this particular machine, this board, it does a self-diagnostic. You can get in there and push that button, and it goes through all the systems in this machine. And if there's something wrong, there's about 6-8 different things in there that it goes through. If there's something wrong, it'll highlight in red, and you can call your technician and say, boiler's burned up, whatever it is.
Okay.
And so they know exactly what to bring for parts. Makes things faster.
Nice.
Energy savings, after a while, it will go down to 140 degrees and maintain that.
Oh, okay.
And this takes about 45 minutes to warm up both of these boilers. These are typically meant to be left on all the time.
And this is we got it on our 220 volt.
Yeah, it's a 220, 30 amp. Yepers, diagnostic, temperature settings. You can get in and change your temperature settings. I know, probably it's hard to see, huh?
Yeah, I kind of got a good angle right now. All right.
Brew counter tells you how many brews you've done, so that you can keep track of your revenue coming in versus how many you've brewed. Make sure that's going okay. Regional settings, you know, let's look at that. US. Going to read out.
the units. Mm-hmm. The measurements.
This is for your technician. We don't want to get into that.
But so you got a lot of stuff to play with.
Yep.
Hopefully you won't end up getting yourself into too much trouble.
Nope. I can get into trouble regardless. I just want to make sure that I hit all the
main
I hit
points.
the highlights, yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to brew a half a gallon, and it takes 120 grams of coffee.
Okay, so we already ground up some Belton's Twilight. These guys are just the big old...
Yeah, look at them. Mambos.
Yeah, Mambos, the flat.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to start the story.
Let's go back to
Get
that.
out of the exit. And...
Do your thing.
All right.
It takes a little while for it to get going.
So we'll let it
be
go
back.
and we'll be back.
Yep. So,
Okay.
we brewed up a half a gallon. You want to taste it?
I do. So that half a gallon was about 5.5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. It's got a sight gauge here, too.
Thanks, Gail.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Anything for you, Kat. Gotta
Really? Anything?
I know you want that big old raise.
Actually, what I want is a Lambo. But then you'd never see me, Gail, because I would go to jail for speeding.
What about? Why don't
I
you
would get pulled over
why
for
don't-
going like 200 miles an hour.
What about a Tesla? You don't want a Tesla?
A Tesla, you mean?
Tesla.
The electric ones? That's too green. That's too hippie.
This is good. I like it. Mm-hmm. You know,
It's really good.
That's too hippy. They were talking about those the other day on NPR. I was quite intrigued.
All right, so that is the Curtis TF15.
Oh, good Lord.
Blah 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 blah.
that?
Anyway,
Yeah.
it's the twin version of their thermal brewer with the G4 interface
And
technology
it comes with a single brewer as well, if that's
in
what-
that version.
So if that's your stitch.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks, Gail.